With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Last season was a campaign filled with domination. Hamilton Akabuisi and Kevin Santana combined to win all 10 of the rounds in the IR04s for the Precision Racing League. But tonight, it's a chance for drivers to begin anew. New faces, new circuits to battle, and a new season begins tonight here on RaceSpot, both PRL's IR04 series powered by VCO, as we get ready to go racing from iRacing's virtual Long Beach. I'm Justin Prinzel. On some of the move for tonight's action is Joey Devon with our producer, Hugo Louise. Tonight brings us to the start of a brand new campaign from the coast to California. A chance to begin anew for many drivers shuffling down from the F3 series to the IR04s, and many more looking to give their chances to try and win a championship in this car, Joey.
Yeah, Takeshi Hida, that's kind of the top driver who came down from the F3 series in the past couple of seasons. He's been so successful. He was on the podium here at Long Beach last season in the F3 series. It was his first Pro Series podium, but this season Takeshi comes down to the IR04s. Brendan Victil, Justin Johnson, Nick Horvath, a bunch of drivers coming down from that F3 series to take on a lower car. A lot of new names who I'm sure we'll get into in qualifying. They're all going to take on Long Beach this week, which might be the most difficult place to start a season. It's the most difficult place to get those race one jitters out of the way. And I guess if you haven't got them out of the way this week, I hope you have once January comes around, because Bathurst is the next race.
When it comes to these nights, as seen with the schedule, I mentioned it there when it comes to the circuits after the holiday break. There is that difference between the Formula 3 cars as well as these drivers following the schedule for the official IR04s as well. Some notables to keep an eye on: Road Atlanta, expect to be very competitive. Silverstone as well as Road America. Hungaroring, the championship decider, all the way in early March throughout this campaign.
And I'm looking most forward to that Oulton Park International with no chicanes. That's not a layout that gets a lot of running. It tends to be in the official series when we run Oulton Park, which we are running a lot this season in Season 1. It tends to have those weird, awkward chicanes that slow the cars down, but they're not great for racing. When you go around Oulton Park with no chicanes, it is basically road course pack racing, but it is very competitive. That's going to be around a circle for any driver trying to take advantage of some chaos.
For those who remember how last season's championship went, Hamilton Akabuisi was the dominating driver in that respective championship, who picked up 7 of the 10 victories. He's amongst the drivers who were promoted, however, Formula 3 competition this season. A chance for a new champion. And in turn, many of the organizations who competed well last season, like YS Motorsports, VHR Racing, Blown Tranny Racing, amongst those tinkering their rosters as They are in the midst of their qualifying, so lots of drivers preparing to showcase what they can do to start off the brand new campaign. And speaking of the brand new campaign, let's take the time to thank the presenting sponsors of tonight's coverage as qualifying gets itself underway and moving into its final minutes here from Long Beach. Tonight's action is brought to you by the Virtual Competition Organization. Tonight also in turn brought to you by Advanced Sim Racing. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. All PRL members also get a 5% discount on ASR products used in Precision 5 coupon code. Racebox Sim Racing offers mid and high-end button boxes for sim racing enthusiasts. The casual gamer up to the most meticulous sim racing driver. Competitively priced and carefully handcrafted, our button boxes are an enjoyable addition to any sim racing setup. Visit RaceSpotTV.com and get a 5% discount. Use the Precision 5 coupon code. RaceLab apps. RaceLab helps you improve your driving skills. On overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration, get the best out of iRacing. Start using it now for free at RaceLab.app. Tonight also brought to you by the Butt Kicker. Butt Kicker products include incredible immersion and bring realism to every game. Let every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. The new sponsor this season, Mecha Sim Hardware, is a small company from Czech Republic, and their goal is to provide high-quality sim racing hardware. If you're looking for a high-end pedal set, handbrake, or a sequential shifter, visit Mecha Sim Hardware's eShop right now to get you up to speed. And tonight, in turn also brought to you by Ninja Trader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Owning more than 60,000 users across the globe, Ninja Trader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. Ninja Trader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit NinjaTrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance. Robert's in the midst of the final minute of qualifying, and it shouldn't be surprising with the experience seen last season and for the past few seasons in Formula 3 competition, Joey. Takeshi Kita, the top of the board so far in qualifying over a fellow F3 competitor in the past, Brennan Victail.
Takeshi, the lone Atomic Racing driver represented in the IRO4s this season, racing for Andes Atomic this season because he wanted to revive the Andes name, keep it rolling this season. So he's going to be a one-car team. I don't know if he'll be able to win the team's championship that way, but he's going to try his best to win the driver's championship. And like I mentioned in the intro to this show, you're going to have to beat Takeshi Kita to win this championship. Kevin Santana, who's also still in the field this season, he's kind of the assumed heir now that Hamilton Akabuizi isn't here anymore. Michael Dowden as well, who took the fight to Akabuizi last season. Those were the two that we looked at. But then Takeshi Kita decided to sign up and put a whole new wrench into things for any other driver who wants to win this championship.
Checker flag waiting for the session. Drivers in the midst of their laps must complete those laps. In turn, as the session gets ready to come to a close, in turn, 27 of the 29 entrants have set qualifying times. Close up things tonight. Take a look at some of those respective drivers to make their way around the racetrack. Also moving down, Nick Horvath, who had some respectable runs last season, but now is in the IRO4 car, Joey. 6th in the session so far, and his qualified run ends with the hit to the wall.
The curse of the camera, unfortunately. But Nick Horvath, one of the most experienced drivers in the PRL altogether. So many seasons of open wheel racing experience, GT experience. He's decided to take on a reasonably new car in the IRO4 this season. Michael Dowden was a new driver to us last season, but he's going to hit the wall as well. Hugo, stop putting cameras on these people. We're making them crash.
I believe that's one of the final drivers to come across the stripe, the last one. We'll get that chance. Christopher Richards, 10th in this session so far. Seen in the past, Richards do well as well in the final stages of last season after 5 DNSs in 2022 Season 4. 119 flat gets him inside the top 5 as your final driver who could set a qualifying time in this session. So as we get ready for tonight's race, real quick thoughts before we head towards the starting grid, Joey.
Long Beach is always carnage. It's always calamity. It's going to be even more calamity as the opening race of the season with a lot of drivers who don't have a lot of experience in this IRO4. Tonight's going to be all about survival. If you're at the front of the field like Takeshi Kita, it's going to be easy to survive. For everybody else, especially those in the middle of the field, good luck. Be careful.
Lots to talk about as the drivers complete the qualifying session. 29 entrants, 27 setting times, about 3 seconds. The difference between the top and the bottom of the board here from the streets of Long Beach. Drivers getting themselves ready for their final preparations for a 26-lap, 35-minute event tonight. It's time to see how they'll start along that grid. Get ready for tonight. Takeshi Kita starts the season for Andy's Atomic on the pole by 0.2 of a second over Brendan Vitkill. Michael Dowden raced for several chances for the win last season, but was involved in attrition several other times. Jake Vesconso was expecting him to be quick after being quick in practice. Christopher Richards and Marcellus Bruning the top 6. Nick Horvath starts behind them alongside Zachary Zerk, Mark Stevenson, and Lucas Hill amongst the top starters. Andrew Moran back in 11th in a shocking qualifying run for Kevin Santana in 12th. Gavin Ray, Gary Weaver the top 14. Sean McCollin in 15th, David Abair in 16th. Justin Johnson also moving down in the series. He'll start alongside Drew DeWeese in 18th. Rounding up the top 24 starting spots, Armando Neto, Neil Alexander, Kevin McPherson, Barry Cochran, and a surprise, how about Terry Radford's PRL debut in a car, 23rd after a week plus of practice. Tyler Gordon, 24th. The last drivers to set times, John Buckley, Brad Winter, Andrea Saba, James O'Brien, no surprise team towards the back. He did not qualify any of his starts last season. He doesn't qualify to start tonight. And Austin Harris, the last of the drivers set to take the green tonight. Quick keys to victory, Joey, to start off the season when it comes to the streets of Long Beach.
I'm looking to the middle of the field. We've got 29 drivers on the starting grid for this race. I'm looking directly in the middle. Gary Weaver, Sean Mulholland, David Abair, Justin Johnson. A lot of drivers in those 4 are experienced. There's some drivers ahead and behind that have varying levels of experience. Turn 1's always a pinch point. There's a lot of drivers that are unfamiliar with each other. If you can't trust your competitors, you just got to figure out how to be careful and survive lap 1.
Drivers finished their final preparations at a very cold racetrack here in California. The lights are out. The drivers are ready. Are you ready? It's the start of a new PRL season for the iRacing. We're underway from California. And a good start for the race leaders, already side by side amongst them. Several more thinking about 3 wide. Michael Dowden trying to send it up for the lead. Takeshi Kita and Brendan Vitkill looking to try and battle to the outside. But it's Dowden who launches himself in towards the cutoff area. Misses as several drivers end up crashing. And it's the stack up we all fear to start this race. At least 10 cars parked in the middle of the first corner.
I think that is Brendan Vitkill turned around there in the middle of the track. I think Michael Dowden is eventually recovered. He actually kind of saved himself by outbraking himself into turn 1. He ended up in the runoff area, but in the process of doing that, he avoided all that calamity that he would have been involved in. That is a lot of drivers involved. Justin Johnson, Brendan Vitkill, Christopher Richards, Gavin Ray. Kevin Santana actually started from the pits from the middle of the field. I don't know if that worked out for him because he had to make it through that incident, but I think he did eventually after parking it up.
He actually gained 2 spots after missing the start in the pit lane. And as you can tell, many drivers having slow-ups and many more with damage. Zachary Zerk, Brendan Vitkill, Christopher Richards, Armando Neto, along with Gavin Ray amongst those with mandatory repairs. Also joining them, Lucas Hill. Those drivers all demolished in the first corner. As a result, Takeshi Kita up by a second already over Nick Horvath. Horvath up 5, Mark Stevenson up 6, and many more gaining several more spots as a result of the chaos.
Yeah, Andrew Moran was way lower than I expected in qualifying. He started alongside Kevin Santana, but he's up to 4th. But that's Armando Cuello over in the runoff.
Armando Cuello.
That's in pit lane, actually. He lost it coming into the pits.
Adding to the multiple drivers with problems already now through the fountain. Some of these drivers have to take some of these lines here. It's going to sound like an obvious question, but how do you make sure you don't damage the car when it comes to a track like this? The damage is adding up quickly. John Buckley just having an issue too.
All you can really do is just back it up a little bit. You don't necessarily need to be pushing 100% all the time in a race like this when it's basically guaranteed to be a race of attrition. If you are a driver who doesn't necessarily have the pace of a Takeshi Kita, or for a driver who's going to be fighting for this win, if your upper goal is about 5th or 6th, you don't need to push that hard. You can just hang back a little bit, save the car, make sure you're not pushing it into a wall, and just ensure your own survival for a little while.
Technical issues. Neil J. Alexander joins the DNF list already. That is 7-8 cars deep. We're going as we take a look at some of your race leaders making their way down the front straight away. Jake Vasconcelos, we were expecting high expectations. Speaking of drivers with problems, Tyler Gore's bad luck crosses over from last season, Joey. Another incident for them. Meanwhile, behind them and now past them, Gary Weaver amongst the big-time chargers into the wall.
Yeah, Mark Bruning just peeked a little bit to the inside of Gary there, and it spooked him. Just to get a little bit too late in the brakes into turn one. You think these little tiny open wheel cars, they're not that fast. They've got pretty good brakes. There's definitely some margin for error, but when turn one at Long Beach has a wall directly to the outside of it, there's no margin for error. You brake that little bit too late. You turn in that little bit too late, there's no saving it. You're done.
So pile up after pile up building up so far. David Appert amongst those you keep an eye on now in the midst of this. James O'Brien looking smart from starting 28th. He's now up into the top 10 with this pass as a result of the mistake from the 16.
As usual, I'm sure he's going to be laughing at us for doubting his pit lane start there, and I guess it did work out for him, but I just wonder what might be possible. I hope in the coming weeks this season, he told us last season that he would think about qualifying. He got his feet wet in the previous couple of seasons. He's got road course experience now. I hope that now that he is comfortable, that now that he does have that experience, he does actually qualify in the coming weeks when we go to places that aren't Long Beach where not qualifying is actually a strategy. I hope we get to see the true pace of James O'Brien this season.
I agree as well, especially with what we've seen from his hard charges to be able to get some near top 10s, in fact top 10s. Back in 2022 season 4, after being a primary oval driver much of his time at the PRL. And Cancelo's still holding on up at the front in this respective pack. Now it's 4th, 5th, and about 6th with Mercedes Bruning coordinating up to this pack. As Cancelo's amongst the newcomers this season. Races, well, this car primarily on the service. In fact, he races it a ton.
If you want to get more IRO4 time under your belt, you want to race the car you love so much even more, why not sign up for probably one of the premier leagues that you can race this car in on iRacing, if not the premier IRO4 league as a whole on iRacing. It's certainly the place you want to be. If you want to race with some of the best drivers in the IRO4s, this is the place to be, as James O'Brien goes for another move on Barry Cochran there for P9.
Up 19 spots so far is the Prada Label machine. Whips a little bit to the bottom of the car. Ryan talked about some of his practice and some of his love and growing in these road cars. Definitely been showing when it comes to some of these starts. More trouble, by the way, for Kevin McPherson. For those interested in that situation, 15th position, just had a spin in the final corners. Back to the fountain we go, meanwhile. How do you set up a pass here if you're in a lockstep group such as this?
Well, the main thing you can do is what Mark Bruning ended up doing to Gary Weaver. It's force the guy in front of you into a mistake. That'll really open up the door because this is a tight track. These are tiny little cars. They're slow. You can make moves, but you do really need a mistake from the driver ahead of you, especially when you are as equally matched on pace as Andrew Moran and Jake Vasconcelos appear to be. This corner right here onto the back straight. This is a great place to set up a pass if the driver ahead gets a little bit out of shape. If they get a little bit too deep, you can get a run. But Moran wasn't able to do it that time around. As we take a look at the replay of lap 1, that was Brendan Victil on the outside of Keshikita in the white car that spun around. And yeah, 3 cars into one. One of them yeeted itself down the runoff area, and I have to imagine that Brendan Victil was just not quite clear of Takeshi there. Let's see, under braking into turn 1, Takeshi hangs back. I don't know. There was a little bit of a descent to the inside from Takeshi there, but that's just close quarters in turn 1.
It was a tempting hole, though, I will say. And then you have Terry just driving right on through amongst the first ones having to cut through.
That's what you got to do. I guess that's what a week of practice in these cars at Long Beach can do for you. He didn't qualify anywhere in the field. He was, what, 23rd, 24th? He was kind of hyping himself up before the race tonight. I'm sure it was kind of a crash back to earth and a flash of rationality and reality for him in qualifying, but I told him at Long Beach, it's just going to be all about bringing it to the finish. It's going to be all about surviving. He's still got 20 laps to go, but he did survive lap 1, and he's up 10 spots for it.
Here is a look at Terry as he looks to make the miracles flow, like his t-shirt says. Already up 10 spots, he is dealing with significant wing damage on part of the car. But again, he was amongst those who just survived the massive one. Hello to you too, Terry.
I hope he gets his hand back on the wheel. The main thing that Terry struggles with is that, you know, he's done a ton of practice, but he's not a road course guy, admittedly. He doesn't have a ton of experience doing racing on road courses. He especially doesn't have a ton of experience racing on street circuits. And he's still just struggling a little bit to find the limits. He's not getting directly to the wall. He's not stretching the track as much as a lot of other drivers can. He'll get there eventually with experience, but you're seeing the experience in action. He's just not able to get as close to the wall as a lot of other drivers are.
Interestingly enough, has Richard Regan Jr. on his box. Michael Dowden amongst those trying to make up spots after the send. You've seen in the replay. Andrea Saba amongst those getting shuffled back from that attempt for 14th position. We know Dowden can be quick, Joey, but the downside to his season last year, when he was quick, 9 times out of 10 he picked up damage while battling for the lead.
Yeah, he was in the fight to win at Spa last season with Hamilton and Kabuizi, which was probably his most impressive performance in the PRL ever in his part-time season last season. Of course, the incident wasn't his fault. It was definitely Hamilton's fault, and Hamilton admitted that, but this season, he is here for the full season. He's here for all 10 weeks, and the main thing he can do is just try and stay out of those situations entirely. Put it on pole. Be up front so you don't have to fight with people you might not necessarily be able to trustworthily run around. And that's the way you win a championship. He's definitely one of the favorites, and he definitely is doing a very good job of recovering after that mistake on lap 1. But yeah, it's all about keeping it clean through the whole season.
Absolutely, but Justin Johnson able to zip on by despite his wing and nose damage. 88 getting shuffled back. Of note, the pit window apparently is open. Kevin Santana made a scheduled stop, trying to, for the first time, maybe see if the undercut would work, because we've seen most drivers try and push the runs last year, Joey. Remember, it's 50% fuel in this series.
Yeah, an undercut, for any of you who are joining us for the first time this season, there's no tire changes in this series. There won't be any tire changes in the F3 series coming up either, because the races are simply not long enough for tire wear to really be in effect. It just takes too long to change these tires that it would not be worth it to change them. You would not be able to make up the time, even on fresh tires. But the thing that Kevin Santana can do is he can get out of traffic. By pitting where he was already around 15th, 16th because of the bad qualifying. He's put himself, I think, in a space on track where there's a tiny little gap. He's not in traffic. He's running his own lap times. When everybody else, when Michael Dowden's going to get held up by Terry Radford, when Johnson and Saba are fighting, when Vasconcelos and Horvath are fighting, you might be able to make something up if other drivers are fighting and you're in clean air.
We have that battle you're referring to. Also this one, a little mistake coming out of the corner for Nick Horvath, and Horvath is coming in. Horvath has mandatory repairs.
I didn't see what happened to him. I saw he was in second, and Vasconcelos got by, Moran got by, so he must have just locked up a little bit, got into the wall. I'm trying to see, is there any real damage on that car that I can see? Not really from this aerial perspective, but you have to imagine that Nick Horvath just locked it up a little bit and got into the wall under pressure.
So that makes that a 2-car battle for second spot. Takeshi Kita, by the way, is up 9 seconds as a result of some of the battling so far over these two. Kita doing Kita things. Moran trying to do really better Moran things.
I hope Takeshi has somebody in his ear. Maybe he has some nice music or something, because it never gets boring at Long Beach. As Moran clips the wall, it never gets boring at Long Beach. You're always paying attention to something, but when you've got a 9-second lead, you might need a little bit of stimulation in your ears. It might start to get a little bit fuzzy up there.
By the way, Kevin McPherson has had more problems, has had to come back to the pit lane just in front of the leader.
Terry just crashed as well, Justin.
Yes, he did, and it's in the fountain. You see some of the leaders currently zipping on by. Radford had the fountain section blocked for a second, just in time for these drivers to try and sort each other out. Moran, last time by, picked up half a second on the 10. What happened to Terry time? Well,
All good through turn one, completely normal. Did he get any damage? Did he hit anything, or did he just loop it? No. Somehow he had a spin at Long Beach where he didn't hit anything, which is kind of impressive in its own right, but I think he just took a little bit. Well, he hit the Bubba Burger sign, but I think he'll be okay. And then he had to do a 17,000 point turn to turn it around, but
and
it's easy. Oh dear, there's people coming. Watch your relative, Terry. Yeah, that's an IR04 moment. These things like to spin like that, especially when you've overcooked the rears a little bit, but he got away with one of them. You don't get away with the second mistake at Long Beach, though.
So Terry Radford, now the last car running who has not taken a pit stop in this race. Let's take a look again at the battle going on for second. Running has closed up to these respective drivers in their pack. Vasconcelos, still impressing in his debut for the season so far to be able to hold these drivers off. Not able to pop that aero bubble, it seems, as Moran.
And the exit out of the hairpin here is extremely important. You want to be a little bit closer than Andrew Moran is, and you want to have some momentum already coming down the back straight. If you're already on the back foot, if you're already accelerating slower than the driver ahead of you, you've got no chance in the draft coming into turn one. So the hairpin is very, very important. It is the most difficult corner on the track, though. It's slightly less difficult than it is in the F3 car because it's slightly more comfortable. The steering wheel is slightly lighter. There's a little bit better of a turning circle, but it is just still an impossibly slow corner where you have to carry your momentum at the most important straight on the track.
And that's the thing. The 10 seems to be very strong in the first two sectors. It's been the third sector Moran's closed up a bit. Quickly approaching halfway. All the way across the red line with the off track goes Moran. By the way, John Buckley has just joined the list of drivers who have had to come in for significant repairs. He too has just picked up mandatory repairs to his car. They're also reaching lap traffic. That was a major talking point we had. You had one car that's now in the mindset of these drivers. Terry Radford up for grabs to be lapped by Takeshi Kita already.
I think Justin Johnson just got into trouble as well, as there's a little dive from Moran to the inside of Vasconcelos into the hairpin. I don't think that was a really smart move because, again, that's just going to kill his momentum down the front straight here. You'd have a way better chance of making the move into turn one, but when you're a driver, it's very, very easy to get impatient, especially at Long Beach. You see the door open, you want to go for it, but in the process of going for it, he's going to open up the door to Mark Bruning. He's going to get to his inside to turn one. Moran's later on the brakes, so he's able to hold on, but he put himself under pressure just from that little bit of getting overeager.
Well, these drivers stay lined up astern. For those curious, John Mulholland, I should say, did have a spin just moments ago as well in the top 5. He's been dropped down to 8th position from that mistake. Brad Winter also just came into the pit lane, as you see on your ticker. But at this point, when it comes to this potential of the worry here, how can you out-strategize your respective opponents here, knowing your lockstep, know you have lap traffic, and here's the thing, they're gaining on Kevin Santana right now. And Terry Radford has a problem because he has now broken the car again.
I think Terry did finally actually hit the wall, and Mark Bruning as well on the curb. That's a very, very weird place to lose it, but when you're already drifting through that section of the track, especially if you do downshift, so it's a difficult place to be rotating the car, and he just over-rotated it. He was already overheating the rears. He was already sliding around, and it just led to another slide. He's finally been able to get it turned around again, but he's going to have heavy front wing damage.
Mandatory repairs, in fact. So Terry Radford has broken the car. He was running 16th. Bruning from that incident also done. The reason for the damage, by the way, for Radford was the run coming out of the danger section. Turn 8 coming to East Seaside Way we've seen throughout the night tonight. So now this battle again down to 2 drivers.
Yeah, Moran's got less pressure behind him now. He can just kind of focus forward on Vasconcelos, try and recharge, try and think of a better place to make a move. Don't dive it in at the hairpin, but This is just classic Long Beach racing and open wheel cars. It's a lot of just riding in line, riding behind the driver ahead, not necessarily bringing the gap down, but making sure you don't lose the gap as well, making sure it doesn't expand. You can see through this parking lot section here, this, frankly, is one of the most difficult sections of the track, because it's one of the few places where the tires do fall out from under you, where you do feel this IR04 slide a little bit. Then you've got to get it slowed down for the hairpin without locking it up. Then you've got to get back on the throttle. Vasconcelos was a little bit clumsy through there, and Andrew Moran finally has a run coming into turn 1.
Is he going to be able to get enough of a run to make a clean pass, though? No, he actually lifts off. Vasconcelos holds on to a car length advantage again for the second step of the podium. Currently past the halfway mark. Time going to be tight. The lap's going to be tight. Right now there's 17 minutes on the clock for those curious. The last lap may be tight. Let's put it that way, on the trigger even, because of, well, chaos.
You definitely want to put an extra lap of fuel into the tank if you want to. There's not going to be much of an advantage from saving that one lap of fuel. I don't know if that's what Andrew Moran was doing into turn 1, if he was trying to save fuel, because that was his best chance to make the move on Vasconcelos that he's had so far in this race, and he just didn't go for it. He braked early, he backed out of it. Maybe he's just not confident in his abilities to brake on the inside of another driver coming into turn 1. He thought maybe that would lead to him making a mistake and taking them both out, and he's just waiting for a more comfortable spot in the track. But yeah, that's the only way I can think of explaining that, because he had a great chance there. He might get another chance here. It's another weak move off of the chicane, or off of the hairpin for Vasconcelos.
And Moran a little bit too far back possibly to take advantage of that of the YS Motorsports machine. But the crazy thing about this start of the season, it seems like, it's almost like we just seen in some of the road cars for some of the GT machines, where many of the contenders from the first round at Red Bull Ring got absolutely demolished in the second round. Attrition absolutely building up to start the year. Vasconcelos hits Neil Alexander, the lap car, spins him around. Here comes Moran for the run.
And Moran's got to his outside. I'm looking at the nose of Vasconcelos. Doesn't look too heavily damaged. I think he did get away with it with fairly straight contact, but Neil Alexander, I think he might have been trying to get out of the way there. We'll have to catch a replay of what really happened there, but Vasconcelos is not going to be a happy camper, and this is a perfect chance for Andrew Moran to take advantage right now. Vasconcelos is going to be a little bit hot. He's going to be angry because of that lap car, and that's the perfect opportunity to force him into a mistake.
Doesn't appear to be damaged, not dealing with any mandatory repairs either from that situation. Vasconcelos lost a couple seconds from that. Moran gets a great run coming out of the corner. Not able to get a full dive underneath quite yet, though. Within a car length, though, to try the slingshot again.
See if he does the same thing he did 2 laps ago, where he just backs out of it. I don't think he will. He's got a much better run this time. Vasconcelos blocks to the inside. No surprise there. Here comes Moran to the outside. He is not going to go for it again. He's just too early on the brakes. Vasconcelos is just that much better on the brakes into turn 1. He's able to hang on any chance of a move around the outside for Moran. And Moran's already a second back. He was so careful through turn 1 that he's completely lost touch with Vasconcelos.
Moran over the radio thought he nearly got pushed into the pit lane, if I heard right. But here's a look at the replay. There goes the lap car. Round it goes. The 27, Neil Alexander.
Let's see what happened here coming up. I don't think Neil necessarily did anything wrong there. He was on the outside. It was just kind of the tale of meeting in the middle. A fast lead lap car, a slower lapped car, just kind of meeting in the middle at Long Beach. This is a track where the field does tend to spread pace-wise the most of basically any place. Just an awkward thing that can happen. Luckily, Vasconcelos didn't get any damage from that. He gets to live on another day, and he has seemed to survive the challenge from Moran. He doesn't seem to be getting too worked up about it.
Incidents, and more incidents. For those keeping score at home, there have been a grand total of up to 2 scheduled pit stops. Everybody else 14th and then 16th on back have had to come in at least once for damage repaired, more than half the field today. James O'Brien, he's passed almost all of them, up 23 spots because of the chaos. 32 seconds behind. but has a chance for a top 5 run again.
How festive. We've got the ticker Christmas tree up, and Takeshi Kita might be the star on top, but James O'Brien is certainly chasing him up there to be the angel on top at the very least. 23 spots up. Drew DeWeese 12 spots up. Barry Cochran 14 spots up. Andre Saba 15 spots up as well. He's not getting all the fanfare because he is only in 12th, but just absolute insanity from a lot of these drivers who have done exactly what I said. They've survived. They made it through the incident on lap 1. They were patient, they were careful, and they're reaping the rewards for it.
Pit stop window underway. Michael Dowd and David Hebert just came into the lane this past time by, so now it's the question, who else comes in? There's your response. Andrew Moran had been getting heated in that fight, and now looks to cool down with some fuel.
Looking to see if there is a gap for him. It's been about a 44 second pit delta. I'm slightly worried for Andrew Moran that he might come out right behind Barry Cochran in the middle of him and Justin Johnson. There might be a little bit of traffic for him, but I'm sure he's calculated that. I'm sure he has been watching his relative, and I'm sure he wouldn't have come in right now if there wasn't a chance of coming out in clean traffic. Mulholland's going to get by. DeWeese is going to get by. I think Moran should be fine. I think he should find a little bit of clean track.
4.6 seconds, so Moran very quick through the lane. Luis also coming in at the other end of the lane. He was running as high as 8th before, well, going into his bump. So there goes Moran in clean space, big for the 99. Now it's question, does he have the raw pace to jump Vasconcelos on these laps?
That's the question. He just needs qualifying laps here, but actually, he needs better than qualifying laps. His qualifying laps were not by his usual standards. He needs to run the best laps he's ever run at Long Beach right now if he wants to beat Vasconcelos out of the pits. Takeshi Kita is in. I have to imagine that Vasconcelos will be in behind him whenever he does. Yep, Vasconcelos is in. Stevenson should be in. Everybody should be in. We're at the hard end of the fuel tank. All Andrew Moran can do right now is push as hard as he's ever pushed.
Luis took a 12-second stop. Hebert, Johnson amongst those with 11-second stops. We might be seeing plenty of wing changes maybe in some of these cases with some of the long stops compared to Kita's 4.4.
Dallara is going to be making a lot of money tonight. There's going to be a lot of front wings pressed out of that factory.
Off and away goes Kita, as both the cars around him have technical issues. That's not going to be helpful.
And Vasconcelos was in the pits for 7 seconds. Stevenson was in the box for 11 seconds. Both of them have completely overdone it on pit lane. That's going to give Andrew Moran here second place easily. It's going to be a little bit of a close merge, but there goes Moran by. The tightness of that pit exit really hurt Vasconcelos, but the thing that really hurt him was the fact that he was in the box for 3 seconds longer.
And there's a reason when you're driving your normal car, you don't turn left from the very far right. It's a long, sharp turn. Vasconcelos loses the spot as a result of the undercut from Moran. Longer stop from that 10 machine. Barry Cochran just completed the pit window. Now it's the race to the finish line. Takeshi Kita leading by a whopping 17 seconds still in this race. He's running more than a second quicker on average a lap.
Takeshi is going to be very, very difficult to beat this season. I think he might be the Akabuizi of this season, but for drivers like Moran and for Vasconcelos, they're kind of doing exactly what they need to do right now. They need to make sure they don't take each other out if Vasconcelos does catch Moran, but also just pick up those points. Make sure you're picking up the seconds and the thirds, because Takeshi is bound to have a few bad days. He's not going to win every race this season. And if Andrew Moran can pick up a couple of wins this season, if Vasconcelos can pick a win or two up this season, they're all still going to be in championship contention come the end of the season. But they need to pick up all the points they can when they can.
And as a result of that undercut, by the way, last time by 1 minute, 20 seconds flat. Very sound Vasconcelos' pace picks up. They were very close on their averages. Past 5 laps, including their pit deltas. But the situations, Brad Winter also has not returned back to the racetrack. More mandatory repairs in that situation as well. So much of the field has spread itself out for the final stages. But give it a few moments. The way this race has been, attrition has been at around any corner.
You know, I'm happy to have a little bit of calm here. You know, it's the festive season. I'm not even going to make a Brad Winter joke. It's not even going to be a cold winter for him. We can just calm down for a little bit. We can be like Takeshi Kita. We can just ride around and enjoy the sights of Long Beach for a little bit. It's a very beautiful scan. iRacing did a very good job of producing this track when they finally built it up from tech track status a couple seasons ago. But that's not beautiful at all. There's lap traffic for Andrew Moran now.
Moran had asked, can I pass? Half a straightaway ago. Saba moves to the right. Now finally gets himself towards the side. Moran can't get the run. Lap car starts to weave a bit to the right. Moran is stuck here. Now he clears. Vasconcelos with a good run to the fountain. Nowhere to take it though.
I don't know why Andre Saba didn't just let these two by down the front straight. He's not really fighting with anybody. He's not catching Michael Dowden. He was just kind of making the two drivers on the lead lap a little bit angry there. But that's something that I'm sure he will learn. That's something a lot of the drivers are going to learn over the course of the season, learning, you know, lapped car etiquette. What's the best way to be nice to the leaders and without losing so much yourself. But Moran and Vasconcelos, they are now free. They are fighting for this position on the lead lap. And Vasconcelos was going for the switchback, but he just ended up a little bit too deep through turn 8 there. He's still going to be in the draft coming into 9.
Down EC sideway they go once again. Vasconcelos trying the long way around. Up through 9 with the squeeze. Moran having to go the long way through 10 instead. Vasconcelos, clean pass, gets it done before the hairpin.
Very nice move. I think he really took advantage there. The fact that Moran hasn't really wanted to run side by side at all so far tonight. You've seen him in turn 1 just kind of back out of the moves. He hasn't been very aggressive, but there's only 4 laps left in this race. Moran needs to be aggressive if he wants to hang on to second place. He's going to have to figure out how to be aggressive into turn 1 here. Vasconcelos is going to squeeze him. They almost make contact. Can Moran be late enough on the brakes through turn 1 this time? Yes, he can, and Vasconcelos loses it.
Vasconcelos spins it on Aquarium Way. Vasconcelos stuck along the side of the racetrack, hits the wall for good measure. As a result, he loses the podium.
And Mark Stevenson up into 3rd.
You had to wonder when it was going to boil over. Well, it absolutely just boiled over. Also, Mark Stevenson, as a result, you said, up to 3rd after starting up in the 9th position, able to take advantage downside. It's only a 2-second buffer between him and Vasconcelos.
And Stevenson has some pressure behind, and Zachary Yurt, who is a lap down, but he is very, very quick, even with the damage that's been repaired. So Stevenson doesn't just get to ride and bring it to the finish. I think he will be happy, though. I don't think Yurt will fight with him, but Yurt will be a little bit of a rear gunner, because Vasconcelos is going to have to pass Zachary Yurt as a lap car. If he finds him in an awkward place, that gives Mark Stevenson a chance to just pull a little bit further ahead and form a little bit more of a gap, because if not, Stevenson is definitely under pressure now. Vasconcelos pulled a 10-second gap on him over the course of the race. He can definitely bring down a 2-second gap.
Dustin Johnson issues. He was amongst the drivers still running. He's got mandatory repairs. James O'Brien has just crashed coming out of turn 9. He's out of the race from the top 5. That leaves these drivers battling for, by the time they get to that section, now 7th. You can see the switch there. Hubert Deweese and Kevin Santana has worked his way up to the 10th spot, despite being off the pace to start the run.
Santana decided to start from the pits. It's a question of whether that was the right thing to do. Of course, he survived the turn 1 incident, as we see what happened to James O'Brien here way too late in the brakes into turn 9, and there was no saving that. But Kevin Santana started from the pits to avoid the trouble on lap 1. He did avoid the trouble on lap 1, but he was also 27th. He had a ton of work to do, and now at the absolute most, he's going to finish 7th in this race. 7th is not a finish you want to have when you're trying to fight for a championship with Takeshi Kita and the gang. But he just has to minimize his losses here to make sure it's not 9th instead of 7th. Those could be 2 valuable points.
Running out of cars on the lead lap, down to just 9 currently on the circuit. Now it's question Deweese trying to find a way back around. He originally had spun around. Santana nearly gives him a help around. Instead, Deweese able to get the better run off the corner exit.
He's not able to peek to the inside, but he's going to be able to get a switchback here into turn 7. Hebert just way too late. Had to slam on the brakes to not get in the wall. He did a good job of saving it, but that opened the door for Deweese to get by. Now Kevin Santana is going to try and go for a switchback on David Hebert. He's got the run. We'll see if he decides to dive it to the inside into 9. David's not always the driver who gets the most aggressive in the world into the braking zones. If Kevin sends it, I don't think he's going to have a hard time getting by, but he didn't go for the move that time, and Hebert loses it anyway.
Hebert hits the wall. Add Hebert to the list of drivers with damage. Seems not mandatory somehow, though, for the 16. He is a lap down as a result. Takeshi Kita was the next car behind him before the spin, and there's the mandatory damage. He does have to come in.
And Takeshi's probably thinking, please, if lapped cars are still going to wreck, can you please just not do it directly in front of me? I have a 20-second lead. I don't need any of that shenanigans. But here is David Hebert losing it similarly to James O'Brien, very hard into the wall. And that white car coming by was Takeshi Kita, who I'm sure was probably as scared as he's been for the entirety of this race. It's been pretty calm for him, but every time he comes up to a lapped car, his heart rate's definitely going up a little bit.
Kevin Santana, Drew Deweese, the nearest drivers within range to be lapped. 2 laps to go for Takeshi Kita with 2 minutes on the clock. Talk about close razor shaving time margins when it comes to the time limit tonight. Put this into perspective. If he was running 1 second slower per lap, this might have been the final lap here.
That is going to be very awkward, but I have to imagine he has put the fuel in the car, and Mark Stevenson's looped it around at turn 1. He had the podium in the bag. Again, he managed to not hit the wall. It was a very good save, but just one mistake under pressure there from Vasconcelos, and that's going to put him back where he was in 4th. I'm sure he'll still be happy with 4th, but when the podium is on the table, that's going to be a very disappointing mistake.
So Takeshi Kita comes around for the final lap. White flag is out. Final time around for Long Beach. It's been a dominating race for Takeshi Kita. 22 seconds up. And yes, you see that right. Terry Radford with a very skewed car is trying to finish the race 12 laps down on top of things.
I guess you might as well. You do have to finish 50% of the race on track to score points in the PRL. So if he's 12 laps down, I think he has completed 50%. He might have needed an extra lap to get to that 50% mark, but that is why he's still out there. Deweese and Santana are going to battle for second here. Takeshi is just hoping and praying that they don't get into each other. Santana's going to try and go around the outside of Deweese into turn 8. He's not going to be able to. He's going to have to hope for a dive into turn 9. I think Takeshi's just going to hang back here, give them a little bit of a gap so he doesn't get involved.
Kevin Santana battling at the tail end of the lead lap for the final spots of the lead lap. Deweese gives him space. One more lap for these drivers. Deweese nearly turns to the wall. Santana looks to run. Now it's the question, how does Kita play this? As the checker flag gets ready to wave, Takeshi Kita gives a massive check. Checker flag waves. Takeshi Kita, welcome back to iRacing. He wins for Andy's Atomic to start the season. Cochran, Santana, and Deweese may have taken the checkered because they reached the time limit, Joey, right as he was crossing the stripe.
That's an interesting iRacing thing. I don't know how that really works. I think they are still racing for this as if it is the last lap, but I don't think Drew Deweese actually has the pace to fight with Kevin Santana anyway. Even if this isn't the last lap, or even if it is over, they're still just going to bring it to the line. They'll be in the same positions they started this lap in. But what a race for Takeshi Kita. Didn't look back. There was a little bit of drama in turn 1. He survived it. He didn't hit anything. And there's a 21-second gap. That's exactly the way you want to start a season. That's how you put the fear into the eyes of your competitors. And Andrew Moran, Dowden, Santana, they're all looking at Takeshi as the guy to beat now.
Deweese losing tons of ground, by the way, this lap. So even if they did have the extra lap to fight, Santana took off like a rocket ship with the 7th position, nearly a full second up in 1 lap alone. These two, the final drivers to finish the race in one of the more attrition-filled ones you will see throughout the year. Just 8 drivers finish on the lead lap, more than half the field having pit stop times of more than 5 minutes with repairs done. Look at your unofficial race results. Takeshi Kita dominates to win by 21.5 seconds over Andrew Moran. Jake Van Concelos recovers from a spin to get up to third after Mark Stevenson's spin puts him in fourth. John McCollum in fifth. Then Barry Cochran, Kevin Santana. Decent recovery from the pit lane to seventh. Drew DeWeese rounds out the lead lap drivers. Michael Dowden recovers from his incident in the opening laps to go to ninth. Andrea Saba, a quiet top 10. 11th spot went to David Hebert, Neil Alexander, James O'Brien, Justin Johnson, Lucas Hill. Amongst those, trying to either get repairs done or chugging along towards the end. Brad Winter, Zachary Zert, Terry Radford finishes half the laps. So is Burning, and then John Buckley, top 20. Rest of these drivers below the halfway mark on back. Nick Horvath, Kevin McPherson, Tyler Gore, Gary Weaver, Gavin Ray, Mando Colero, along with Christopher Richards, Brendan Victil, and Austin Harris did not take the green tonight. Takeshi Kita gets the job done to start off the brand new season. Takeshi Kita, in turn, gets to celebrate from victory lane. Top step of the podium for Takeshi Kita tonight. Takeshi, how do we put this? You're about a second quicker than most of the field. How does it feel to dominate to start off your iRacing season?
Well, I gotta be honest. I think I got very lucky, especially on the first lap. Someone overshoot the first corner and took some people out. And then on the race, the two people that were behind me started fighting each other. So that gave me the space to get away.
How difficult is a track such as this when it comes to Long Beach to be able to prepare for and stay clean in?
Well, once I got a little bit of space, I started to focus on keeping it outside the walls because this track is very difficult. It's really easy to spin and hit the wall.
Of course, it's been talked about rather by Joey, especially the move down to IRL4 competition. What are the expectations this season with this time slot for you?
I'm not really sure. I signed it up for F4 after doing several seasons on F3 because the time zone shift didn't suit me. So the F3 races are a bit late for me. But so I started with F4 to keep racing and to keep having fun. And I think it will be an interesting season. I hope to have good results.
Thank you very much for the time. Congratulations on the victory to start off the new season. All you laps went to you. Takeshi Kita leads all 26. Away with the victory tonight. Andrew Moran picked up a second place run tonight after some intense battling for the spot. His reward? He gets to be with Joey.
Indeed, what a reward for Andrew Moran, and I think we agreed with you and Kevin Santana. It was a little bit lower of a qualifying than I'm sure both of you guys were expecting, but you survived. You finished P2. What was the most difficult part about surviving Long Beach this season?
Lap 1 was pretty intense. I was probably the most intense crash that I've been a part of. Well, I was a part of it, actually. I was thankful to not have damage. And what a good race. I was lucky to survive, but definitely could have done better in quali.
Yeah, you and Vasconcelos were certainly putting on a show for us there for the podium. It seemed like every time we got into turn 1, you were backing out a little bit. You were just being a little bit more conservative, trying to survive. Is that what you were doing? Was your strategy really to just survive and hang on to the podium?
100%. I was actually relatively content with third. I actually knew I was faster than him, though, so I wasn't concerned with getting a pass on him. I knew I could maybe get him out of the pit as well, but I did. So I was very much just trying to survive, and I plan on trying to get a win. So
before we kick you out this season, the first race this season, I have noticed again Megacorp on the side of that car. Tell us all about them. Tell us what they do for you.
You know, I currently work for them, and they're a proud sponsor of my current racing career. So big shout out to them. Big shout out to YS Motorsports, you know, bringing it back. Too bad Kevin couldn't be with us again. He got kicked out because he was too slow, you know, clearly. So, you know, we're going to have another great season, and I'm excited.
Well, we wish you good luck in the coming months. Congrats on the podium, and we'll see you once 2023 starts.
Thank you very much. Have a good one.
Andrew Moran, P2 in the Megacorp entry, and we've got his battle buddy, Jake Vasconcelos, is here with Justin.
Yes, indeed. Welcome to the series. How would you describe your run tonight? Able to get third.
Hey, yeah, I'll take it. First league, first race. I'm happy.
About to say, you run this car a lot on the service. In fact, you're past 10 races before tonight. In official, all with this car. What drew you to the PRL to compete this season?
Well, I'm just getting the feel for this car. I want to go up to F3, but I'm just trying to learn this one first. Baby steps, right? I love open wheel, and I've actually never raced Long Beach before. I had downloaded the track last week and been grinding it out, so guess it paid off.
What are your expectations then for this season, as you were amongst the top drivers in practice, top drivers in the race? What are the expectations for the full season in turn?
Oh man, anything's going to be great. I maybe I'll join a team now. I have no team, so if anyone has an opening, I get some points. But who knows? Maybe I can get a lot higher than I thought. I was just wanted to survive.
Well, congratulations on the podium run to start off your PRL season. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Jake Vasconcelos coming away with the third spot. I believe one more driver is standing by. He did make it to 50% laps. It did not reach the lofty expectations heard. Terry Radford survived. He's with Joey.
Yeah, Terry, I'm going to ask you that exact question. I'm sure, what was it, 24th in qualifying? I'm sure that was below your expectations. Talk us through how the whole of the race went.
Well, if you could tell, I'm not used to these cars. It's not my thing, but we had a good practice. It was a whole lot faster with the 100%. I felt more comfortable with 100% fuel. I loaded into the practice session and I said, well, this sucks. I was about 2 seconds off what I was running in practice. I was running about 119s, and then I was running 121s for the while. And these boys are fast. Guy coming from the NASCAR side of things got a rude awakening here. I was 13th, and then I'm an idiot, and I wrecked it. I just absolutely wrecked it. Just overdrove the corner, missed the braking by a mile, went right into the wall. It was like, well, that's race over. I'm sure somebody will be laughing at me out there, but thanks to Miracle Flow for coming on board with this thing. Whataback Racing for taking me on home, and obviously coming out here and somewhat representing RaceSpot too. I got them on the car, and first time I've been interviewed in a while, so it's good to come talk to you and not be color commentary.
Commentary, ha, funny, ha, lol, XD, lol, funny, yes. Anyway, Bathurst, it's in 2 weeks. Get practicing. I'll probably hop in a session with you or something, and we'll get some practice done, and we'll figure it out. It's a trial by fire, but always respect people going for different disciplines, trying something new.
Yeah, I appreciate everybody who's helped me practice over here. All the guys, Richard Rica Jr. for jumping on the box, you jumping in a practice session with me, all the Whataback guys for being good teammates and coming out and making sure that I didn't go out here and embarrass myself. I feel like 18th was a pretty good expectation. Everybody thought I'd finish last. I didn't. I finished 18th, and I finished half the lap, so it's all that matters.
And you got points, so
that's right.
That's the important thing. But
that's right.
Where did you finish in the end of it all? What was the end result?
18th.
All right, congrats on P18, and we'll see you I'll see you in 2023, and then we'll see you again when we're doing the racing or whatever or something.
I'll see you for a broadcast somewhere. I'm sure there's something we can sneak in.
We'll get it done. Terry Radford, P18 in his trial by fire in the IRO4s. Let's get ready to do it again, Justin. We got a whole nother race to do tonight.
Absolutely. And remember, these drivers have a holiday break before they get an even bigger challenge, the Mount Panorama Circuit. Bathurst is going to be wild, let's put it that way, again on January the 5th, 8:40 p.m. Eastern Time for the start time for that one. Again, attrition likely going to be big there.
Yeah, we ran here last season, and there was definitely attrition. I was kind of surprised, though. It wasn't as bad as I expected, but hopefully we have a bigger field coming into Bathurst this season. Hopefully some of the people who skipped that round have downloaded the track. Hopefully some of the new drivers have Mount Panorama. I want a big field at Bathurst. It's a good racetrack for these cars with the long straights. It's very challenging, but I'm looking forward to it.
Once again, January the 5th for that one, after the holiday break in about 2 weeks. But on that, it's time to head over to Japan because it's time for the PRL's Formula 3 series powered by VCO as they begin their brand new season. Look to see which new faces can shock its start of the season and which of its defending drivers from last season's championship battle keep up the momentum here in this series. A different schedule compared to what we see in the iRacing. Keep in mind, these drivers starting off at Suzuka before going to the Circuit of the Americas, new circuit Sir de Never Marticours. And don't forget, Long Beach just so happens to be their 6th race of the season for reference.
Long Beach and then Rudskogen. That's 2 very, very tight tracks. The road course at Motegi is going to be very interesting. Watkins Glen Classic with no chicane or no bus stop chicane. That's going to be pretty interesting, I think. It's a very, very diverse calendar. That tends to be how things go in week 1 of a new year on iRacing in both the road and the oval side. And this is a very diverse calendar. Some new tracks, some old tracks. It's going to reward a driver who can be competitive on high speed and technical tracks.
Remember last season for these drivers in Formula 3 competition, there was a lot of diversity when it comes to the winners, a grand total of 5 different winners in 10 rounds. This season, we'll have to see if Andrew Waring, the defending champion, can keep up his momentum. 5 of those wins went to him last season, winning the title over Michael Kofre and Kevin Sandiego.
Yeah, Waring's championship was never really in question last season. When he won race 1, when he went, I believe, 3 for 3 in the opening 3 races of the season, he really put up a buffer that season that was unable to be caught by anybody. Julio Palacio won, Kofre won, a couple of other drivers won, but they just weren't able to build a consistent championship challenge to Andrew Waring. But now it's a new season. There's a lot of new drivers. There's our defending IRO4 champion, Hamilton Akabuizi, one of the best F3 drivers of previous seasons. Robert Ridgway is back in the series. There's a lot of drivers who can take the fight to Andrew Waring, and a lot of drivers who took the fight to him last season are back to try again as well.
Well to say, qualifying so far, a lot of your major contenders from last season looking to do well once again. As we keep an eye on right now, this is Max Preston you're looking at in the midst of this session. Around to the car in front of him, Justin Negretti. Negretti amongst those looking quick in the session, 6th in said session currently. It's Hamilton Akabuizi, though, who leads all drivers in the 151 flats. Cody Grams, who also won a race before missing the final few rounds of the season, also back in the field tonight. Andrew Hardman, also somebody intriguing in the 10th spot. So a lot of different major competitors still keeping up the pace, Joey. But also, in turn, a lot of your respective newcomers are making waves early in the session.
Yeah, Hamilton Akabuizi, I guess it shouldn't really be a surprise that he's competitive because he was so dominant in the IRO4 cars last season. It was not really a surprise to see him jump up to the F3s, get some bigger competition, and he is certainly shining. Whether you put this guy in an IRO4, whether you put him in an Indy car, whether you put him in an F3 car, he is a very, very, very strong customer and a very, very difficult competitor to beat. But now he finds himself in the most difficult competition of his iRacing career, really, in road course open wheel racing. He's not just racing against Kevin Santana and Andrew Moran and Michael Dowden. He's racing against about 15 drivers, I think, that could realistically win a race this season. He's beating all of them right now in qualifying, but it is only 1/10 of a second over Andrew Waring.
He's driving a part of the Evolve Sim Sports banner this season. Bob Formula 3 specifically as part of that team entry. Max Preston, Andrew Waring, his teammates this season. When it comes to Suzuka on this racetrack, it's a place that can definitely bring some exciting action. Joey, talk us through the best opportunities these drivers will see to make moves tonight.
The very fast and flowing racetrack. So there's a lot of places where you can think about going for moves, but they're always low percentage moves because of the fast corners. You go through the entirety of the first sector, through the Degners, through the hairpin, and then through Spoon. You're not really getting any real chances to go for an overtake. But the back straight here, going through 130R, then under braking into the Casio Triangle, that's the place where you're going to want to make your move. That is the heaviest braking zone of the track. That's the highest percentage place to go for a move, and that tends to be where the majority of moves happen at Suzuka. But if you can get a good run into the final corner, you can be aggressive into turn 1, you can make a move, and anywhere else in the track, you force a driver in front of you to make a mistake, that's the easiest way to make a move.
Champion and Drew on board with once again. Only the difference between the two, about a tenth and a half. Full time, Aussie Milwayne rounding out the top 3. That outfit looking very quick this season. Start things off, let's put it that way. But there has been some team movement in turn. The most notable thing is, remember the monkey butt cars we've seen last season? Well, they have essentially joined the fold for Atomic as well. So keep an eye on those drivers tonight. Ryan Miles, for example, 13th.
Atomic Monkey Butt. It's the merger of the century between Monkey Butt Rides and Atomic Racing. James Carter, Richard Swindells, and Ryan Miles, they'll be teaming up in the AM category this season for Atomic Monkey Butt. And I will mention, by the way, you may have noticed there's 2 colors over on the ticker. That is because there is a Pro-Am split once more in the F3 series this season. There wasn't last season. Everybody ran for the same win, but we are back to that Pro-Am split. AM drivers will continue to score points based on their finishing position, but there is a Pro-Am split. There will be 2 winners. There are 2 categories, and as always, it's another dynamic you have to deal with.
That is per the rule book, where it depends on how many pro drivers and how many AM drivers are registered. A grand total of 51 drivers as of the time of the decision, December the 15th, had signed up to compete this season, which in turn means that split is a part of that regulation section for the sporting regulations for the PRL. Michael B. Myers, you're looking at, for Scuderia Delta 2, is currently leading the way for those respective drivers. Has a bit of a separation amongst some of the other competitors in that class as well. I'm curious to see how that split in turn plays out this season with a lot of those respective drivers and how they battle it out.
Yeah, we saw in the GT3 Sprint Series that Alex Caruso was placed in the AM class when he probably shouldn't have been. He finished 4th in the opening race. He was competitive in the second race. He was eventually promoted up to pro where he really should be, and it is possible that might happen with some drivers here in the AM class. There's a lot of drivers down in that class that could be pros, and there's a lot of drivers in the pro class that could definitely be AMs. So after race 1, after everything's all shook out, we'll see James Carter, we'll see Jerome Bertillon, we'll see everybody look at those pro-am splits, and we'll see if some people do need to be reassigned. But you've got to run a race first to see if everybody is really where they belong.
Once the notables, Michael Broomhead, Richard Swindells in the AM class, Sean Duhamel amongst the AMs, Dave Peterson as well. James Carter was the cutoff, it seems, between AM and pro once that decision-making process. Justin Negretti once again looking at him, 8th position. Needs to pick up half a second, though, to be able to get a better time. We're now in the final minute of qualifying in this open series. That's a critical word, open, when it comes to F3.
Yeah, open qualifying, it means that every other driver in the field, there's 42 drivers in this session, 43 drivers if you count Matt Brewer, they're all trying to get their lap times in. It's a long track, Suzuka, but there's always going to be traffic, and if you can line it up correctly, if you can find a teammate or two to give you a draft down the long straights, that can be helpful, but it's also just very, very difficult to organize something like that. Justin Negretti has no teammates to help him out here. He's just riding it all on his lonesome, and he's trying to see if he can find any extra time here. He's a driver who's always on the precipice of a good result. I believe he had a couple of podiums 2 seasons ago in the pro class. He's always been fast, but he finds himself in a new season. He's just got to be competitive for 10 rounds and pick up the pieces when some of his higher competitors can't. He's going to round the final corner here. Is he going to improve on a 151.5? He is. It's only a 151.4 though. That's still going to get him about 5 spots though.
Up to 4th and 5th for Justin Negretti, Michael Coffray, Joey Haynes amongst those. Want to finish up their laps as the checker flag waves for the session. They have about 2 minutes 45 seconds to get their lap times completed around the circuit. Michael Broomhead, Roberto Coffray, Brad Miller, Sean Duhamel, and George Gonzaga will also have chances to try and close up the runs. The other reason I mentioned the word open, Joey, compared to the Gyro 4's open setup for F3.
There's going to be some teams that have gone for a lower downforce setup to really take advantage of the straights here. There's others that have gone for slightly higher downforce to take advantage of the S's, to take advantage of the faster corners on the track. That's always a difficult thing at Suzuka. Do you want to reward yourself in a straight line, or do you want to be competitive in the corners? I would be biased towards the straight lines, probably because that's the best place to make a move, but I would also be biased towards high downforce, because I know when you're on low downforce and high-speed corners, you destroy your tires. If you're a driver like I was in these F3 cars in this series, you're destroying those tires when you're on a low downforce setup.
Uncle Broomhead, amongst the final 3 drivers on track, Justin Gretti is also on the circuit, Brad Miller also. Now Britannia car looking to try and get a little bit closer to Myers, who has a small buffer by a couple grid slots at the most over the 00. Comes Broomhead to the final corners, up to the Casio triangle, a huge slide coming out of the corner. Be able to get himself up to the top time in the AM class. He needed a 151.8. It's a 152 flat, no improvement.
That was what the little mistake did to him. He just needed a little bit more, and just that little bobble. That's all that needs to happen here. Michael Coffray, all 4 Coffrays are here this season. Sebastian, Juan, Michael, and Roberto. It's a great sight to see, and I'm very happy that they're all in different looking liveries for the most part, because it will be easy to differentiate them, even when they are literally 6th, 7th, and 8th right next to each other. Michael brings it to the line. He's not going to improve. He's slower on his final lap as well. I believe that is literally the last driver on track right now, so no more time on track. Hamilton Akabuizi. Should I even be surprised? Of course he's on pole.
How about that for a debut in the F3 series in the Precision Racing League for Hamilton Akabuizi, the defending IR04 champion, youngster, just a few moments away from taking his first green flag from the starting blocks up at the front of the pack. Tonight should be a fun one, Joey. To start off the season, 43 entrants making their way to Japan.
And there's so many drivers that are deeper in the field than we'd expect them to be. Of course, we expected the likes of Akabuizi and Waring and even Cody Grahams to be up there, but there's some Ridgeways, there's some Kevin Sandiegos, there's some Roberto Coffrays that have some work to do.
Lots to talk about when it comes to tonight's starting grid. Minute 50 to go through your starters tonight as drivers make their final adjustments for Japan. Hamilton Akabuizi starts on the pole in his team debut with the Ball Formula 3. Andrew Waring starts in second. Cody Graham starts alongside Justin Agretti, while Ozzie Milway and Sebastian Coffray round out the starting 6. Juan Coffray and Michael Coffray make it 3 Coffrays lined up astern for the brothers, with Max Preston and Raymond Day in the top 10. Andrew Hardman starts at 11th tonight, while Joey Haynes is in 12th. Manuel Vargas and Ryan Miles 13th and 14th, while Michael B. Meyer starts off the M class his return in 15th. Jacob Magers starts in 16th, with Michael Broomhead and Byron Daly returns again from 18th. Kevin Sandiego and Kevin Hill round out the top 20, with Ray Courtney, an AM driver, and a pro driver, Max Shabley, 21st, 22nd. Tara Pierre Richards and Spencer Ritzma, top 24. The last of the Coffrays tonight, Roberto Coffray 25th, Eric Dubé, Brett Thurman, Brad Miller. Once those in deep in the field, Robert Ridgway in his return 29th. Let's take a look at the rest of the drivers to keep an eye on towards the back of the field tonight. Amongst those, Richard Swindell's returning back in 35th. Keep an eye as well as James Carter starts in 40th. John Duhamel and Dave Peterson raced well last season. They're towards the back as well. Only one driver, no qualifying time. That's Matthew Brewer. That's all top to bottom at the running order tonight. Your temperatures near identical to what they were in Long Beach, as we are on December 17, 2022 in the sim, just around 3 p.m. for the starting blocks. PRL's Formula 3 series powered by VCO, all set to go. Hamilton Akabuizi on debut starts from the pole with a good launch from Japan. Akabuizi with a great launch, Waring immediately sheds off Cody Graham's 2, 3, and 4 wide as they make their way through the opening corners.
This is critical right now. Through the first couple of corners with 43 cars, especially in the middle of the field, you're bound to find yourself in a little bit of a hornet's nest, a little bit of a cloud of cars, but you need to survive through the S's here. You need to find your own pack. and then you're in good shape. But lap 1 is the most difficult lap of the season.
Some troubles in the back of the field. Kevin Sandiego, Michael Broomhead, Michael Bean Myers, the AM leader, and everybody else gets collected. At least 7 cars having to slow apart in the middle of the S's to start the race off. Spencer Ritzma also with problems in that section. And another goes off.
Juan Cofre, the first Cofre falls, and that was the mighty Quinn, John Quinn, as well in trouble.
Incident after incident already, and we haven't even made our way halfway through the racetrack. Heading off towards Spoon for the first time today. Hamilton and Combawese trying to make a break for it. 7/10 up over Waring. Cody Grahams keeps close to Waring. Jake Potts also having problems in the heart of the pack.
And both of our top 2 in the AM category were out there in the S's in that incident. Michael Myers and Michael Broomhead both out on lap 1. That's completely opened up the AM class. Ray Courtney takes the lead. This calamity on lap 1, that's about 10 drivers collected in that one incident.
Ozzie Milwain losing ground already, meanwhile, gets a little squeeze from Sebastian Cofre's Wave Italy car. So Cofre up to the 5th position with that move. And a huge miss into the Casio Triangle. Milwain nearly gives the back end of Cofre's car a shove.
Yeah, well recovered to kind of bail there to make sure he didn't get into the back of anybody, but he is going to fall out of the top 10 here. That's a critical mistake on lap 1, and he will be serving an additional slowdown, I believe, for cutting the chicane. Even if he did take it slow there, you can see he's all the way to the back of this train, though. From fighting for the top 5, Ozzie Milwain finds himself 20th now.
Dubé amongst those who have just peeled in as well as a result of the issues to start the race. 9 drivers with mandatory repairs in their black flags from the big one to start. So now it becomes the mindset, making sure you don't make mistakes. 23 laps, 45 minutes up on the clock. We've seen what could happen at Long Beach. We are seeing very similar shades already with about 11, 12 drivers with problems.
It's all about those opening race jitters. Here we go. Boom bop, hootin' booby doo bop. Where in the world is Kevin Sandiego? Unfortunately, he finds himself under Michael Broomhead there on lap 1. That's Michael Myers in the white car to the left of Kevin Sandiego. That's Broomhead to the right of him. Sandiego found himself in an AM sandwich, and that's 3 strong drivers out on lap 1.
Matthew Brewer just crashed as well. Sean Duhamel just towed his car. Juan Cofre amongst the DNFs now in this race. Looking at some of the sends, as plenty of battling in the midst of the top 10 and the edges of it at least. Manuel Vargas, Ray Courtney looking to try and move up a few more spots. 15th overall. Leading things off in AM with a 4-second bumper. Max Shapley in an atomic car gets some help from Kevin Hill.
I think Kevin Hill was initially assigned to AM, but some of his teammates were like, yeah, Kevin should not be an AM driver. He should definitely be in pro. So Kevin Hill has been promoted to pro. Max Shapley for Atomic Racing will get his paint scheme sorted out in a couple weeks' time for round 2. But he's back as well for Atomic Racing. A very, very fast driver. A driver with a lot of raw speed is Max Shapley. He was out last season. He's returned this season, and we'll see if he can match his pace with a few less mistakes.
Looking a little bit further up the field, the Sebastian Cofre drive continues to try and get to the head of his pack. Ready currently the cork in the bottle for him and Michael Cofre. So the Cofres, who are still running at the front, looking to link up. They are teammates this season, Sebastian and Michael.
Yeah, working together with Wave Italy Racing Team. We know them from basically every avenue of iRacing esports at the pro level, and they've got a team here in the PRL as well with Sebastian and Michael. Very, very strong last season. Michael probably should have had a couple better results than he did, but he did get a couple of wins. He was competitive. He just needed a little bit more consistency to fight with Waring for the championship. He's actually got one of Waring's sort of inter-squad teammates. It's Rivera, it is Max Preston, and it's Hamilton Akabuizi on Evolve Formula 3, and then it's Waring and a few others that I need to check on Evolve Sim Sports, but they are all Evolve teammates, and they're all going to try and work together.
Let's take a look as one of the Evolve cars gets involved in that.
Oh dear. I think it was Kevin Hill.
And Hill had started off the race very well. Now, not so much. Sebastian Cofre around the outside. To make the pass stick going through 130R. Here comes Michael Coffray looking to follow. Can't do so, has to wait a bit.
Needs to get by Negretti quick if he wants to stick with his teammate and brother, because you can already see through the chicane there, Sebastian is already checked out. Negretti is struggling early on here. I don't know if he's cooked his tires already. He's overheated them a little bit. It's possible to do. I've done it before, but I don't think that's a Justin Negretti thing to do. Here comes Michael Coffray to the inside in turn 1. Again, he's clear. Negretti not able to fight very, very hard with the two Coffrays. And that's 2 and 1.
Sebastian Michael pulling away now, 4th and 5th. More troubles in that same section. Ryan Miles cuts to the part of the course. Miles was running 11th, now in 12th, with his team shuffle over to Atomic Monkey Butt.
Atomic Monkey Butt with him, James Carter, and Richard Swindells. All three of them have survived here on lap 1. So they could be in for a pretty decent points day if they can bring it to the finish. James Carter 5th in AM right now. Richard Swindell 6th in AM. There could be good things on the table for both of those drivers. But the battle for the lead in AM is kicking off now as Ray Courtney survived. I think Ray probably thought there was going to be an easier game here, but a lockup into Degner 2 might just open the door for Guillaume Boivin.
That was Tower Pierre Richards with the lockup. Now there's a cork in the bottom in the midst of that. More smoke coming up from lockups. Boivin, remember, was fairly quick last season. Was able to run in the mid-pack amongst the single class last season.
Yeah, Boivin was very, very quick in the IR04s. Got a ton of podiums, especially to open the season. I think he had a streak of being with Hamilton and Caboese on the podium in the first 3 races of the season. He's back up in the F3s this season after a season off in the IR04s, and this is a much better Guillaume Boivin than I raced against 2 seasons ago. That's not a slight on him, but he just was not as strong as he is right now. He's done a ton of driving, he's done a ton of practice, he's done a ton of racing, and it's a whole new Guillaume Boivin that's more competitive than I've ever seen him.
Clear up by there. More troubles, by the way, coming out of Spoon. That's James Carter. James Carter way off the circuit.
Kept it out of the wall, though. That's good, and I'm sure we will ride on board with James Carter a little bit later in the broadcast tonight. I don't know what he has planned for the first race of the season, but I have to imagine he's got something special going for the first race of a new season.
Part of the tips given for drivers in preparation for those providing camera viewpoints tonight was code in ironic shirt and a clean room. You don't want to have a messy bed because, as we know,
Sean
Joey,
Campbell.
As we know, fans will ask that driver to make their bed.
You got to make your bed in the background. It could be messy for the other 23 hours of the day. I don't care about that, but if you're gonna put that sim bed on the broadcast, you got to be in top bed condition. And an ironic shirt doesn't help. A Ted Lowendick Zoom background doesn't hurt either. There's so much opportunity for creativity.
Looking at Raymond Day. Raymond Day amongst the top 10, as well as Byron Daly, Andrew Hardman, the sandwich between them. Big jump up from what we've seen from the Ninja Trader machines compared to last season, Joey, after their dominance a few years ago.
It was a rough and tumble season last season for Raymond Day and for Byron Daly. Byron Daly, by the way, in the 06 this season. He switched from the 60 last season. Not entirely sure why. Maybe he's thinking that I'm going to come back into the series and steal my 60 back. I don't think that's going to happen, but he is in the 06. Maybe that'll give him a little bit of better luck. It's certainly playing him well here with Joey Haynes. They go side by side through 130R. And Byron Daly, that actually isn't Byron Daly. That's Hardman he's fighting with. And Byron Daly's right behind trying to take advantage.
That's Manuel Vargas actually behind. That's up the road, from down the road, from what we see with Daly and company. You see that trying to work together. More blocking in turn, even more aggressive. Ryan Miles does not want to give up 11th. Forces a little wide movement from Joey Haynes. Simple crossback. An aggressive move back for Joey Haynes as he slams the door in Miles' face.
That was a huge move there, and he was not letting Ryan Miles have that one. Looks like there was another incident. Is that James Carter getting punted around? It's one of the Atomic Racing drivers.
Swindells.
Richard Swindells for Atomic Monkey Butt getting punted around at Spoon.
So that cost him a few spots yet again. So that team outfit having a lot of bumps in the road today. Whether self-inflicted or from other cars. Haynes nearly hanging all of it out to try and hold on to it. Miles trying to keep within range. Vargas and Ozzy Milwane also right there for the taking.
Yeah, remember, Ozzy Milwane's on recovery after fighting for the top 5, but making a mistake over at the Casio Triangle. Fell down to P20. He is already up to P14 now. He's made up a bunch of spots on attrition, but now he's got the real hard work to be doing. He's got to pass Vargas. He's got to pass Ryan Miles. He's got to pass his own teammate in Joey Haynes. None of those 3 drivers are going to be very easy to pass.
These drivers already trying to size each other up possibly for the Casio Triangle. Speaking of which, the leader's going through that section. The lead is compressing down a bit. Akabuizi and Waring started off with a decent buffer with the troubles, right? Cody Graham, Sebastian Coffre, Michael Coffre are just about 1 second behind them. And also, the Coffres are the fastest cars on the track right now. Waring and Akabuizi running slower lap times compared to Michael Coffre's draft times in the 151.6s. Also, there goes Hardman trying to get around Raymond Day again, slamming the door in Byron Daly's face too.
A little bit of a Ninja Trader sandwich here. It's always tough to be in the middle of 2 teammates because you know that rear gunner is going to try and send something on you to break it up. But yeah, this is Andrew Hardman's return to the series. I'm very, very happy to see him back in the series again. Britannia iSports, one of the longest running teams in the PRL. They're always so competitive, but they're always so sportsmanlike. With Broomhead, with Hardman, with Phil Amaro, with Horvath, with everybody who has competed with them. It's a very, very great team in the PRL, and Hardman is really representing them well in the Pro Series in P9.
Very much tracking the performance of Hardman with how things are going down. Day right now trying to hold things up. All 3 of them dead even on pace. Keep in mind. So expect this to be competitive. The interesting when it comes to Byron Daly's case, experience as an NASCAR Xfinity Series crew chief at one time.
I think Akabuizi just spun from the lead, Justin.
Oh no! Akabuizi, who led every lap prior, has more problems in Japan. Remember in the IRL4s he had problems here? This time from the lead and spoon.
That curb always bites, no matter who you are. You just get the tire a little bit too far to the right. You get the wheel on that there's a little groove between the curb and there's a little bit of turf and then there's asphalt. And you put the wheel on that, it loops you around just like it did for James Carter, just like it did here. It bites every single time. Hamilton Akabuizi has gone from 1st to 6th with that one mistake.
There was also that additional spin for that respective driver as well. So 2 different spins in that section of the racetrack. Biggest one again, Akabuizi. If I remember right, he had to make up a lot of ground just to finish 2nd here last year. So now he'll have to do it again. Speaking of trying to do things, Paven able to take the M lead over Ray Courtney.
Like I said, it's a whole new Guillaume Pauvin. We're seeing some incredible racecraft from Guillaume. Let's see how he made the move on the outside of Ray Courtney. It looks like coming into 130R. You can go side by side through there. It gets difficult on cold tires, gets difficult on old tires, but Pauvin, no fear in the eyes of that man. Underbraking into the Casio Triangle. He was already clear. It's a straightforward move, but now he's running into traffic right ahead of him. I think Manuel Vargas, or actually that's going to be a lapped car who's going to be in the way for Pauvin and Ray Courtney.
That traffic definitely starting to build up, taking a look back up the road. It almost seems like Hardman is sort of content at this point in this part, being the meat in the sandwich.
He might be able to save a little bit of fuel behind Raymond Day. That might be his way to get out of the sandwich. These guys are all kind of in no man's land right now. They've got 3-4 seconds up to Justin Negretti as Raymond Day goes around.
In Raymond Day fashion, a spin from the top 10 drops the 77 down. Up the road we go. And this group starting to close up quickly on Waring. Now it's about 1 second back. Rams, Michael Coffre, Sebastian Coffre. They are all trimming Waring's gap down by about at least a 10th a lap.
You need to be careful, though. If you're going to fight with Cody Grams for 2nd, you have to make sure you can make the pass quickly, and there it is. Grams isn't going to fight with Michael Coffre. He knows that if they fight, that's just going to expand the gap up to Andrew Waring. So Coffre gets through, Grams backs out, gap didn't expand at all. It expanded maybe by 0.5 of a second. That's nothing. And now Michael Coffray only has Andrew Waring in front of him in that new #1 car.
Trouble, Byron Daly.
Oh, no.
Daly has spun around. He's just been hit by 2 cars. One of them, Joey Haynes, has just spun to the S's. Take a look at that situation. It's after the patience wore out for the Britannia car, then 1 hit, 2 hits, 1 spins around Haynes.
Haynes tried his best to avoid, but he was just a little bit too late. He was a little bit too clumsy, just clipped the side of the front wing there. But as I was saying, Coffray has now got completely clean track in front of him. Somebody who doesn't have clean track, though, Guillaume Pauvin. You saw that excellent move he made around the outside of 130R? Well, Ray Courtney's not letting that happen. Ray's going to keep fighting back.
In the battle for the AM lead. Right now, 12th and 13th, mind you. Pavin's had to gain 19 spots. Have a shot at this AM class lead. They have an 8-second buffer over the next nearest driver, or Ayrton Smith.
It's a pretty good name to have at Suzuka, Ayrton S. So it should be doing pretty well for him. But again, in the midst of this pack, things are in the top of the pack, rather. Sebastian Coffray now getting by Cody Grams. Max Preston as well might be the next driver to be on the attack on Cody Grams. And I think there was a lockup from Andrew Waring for good measure into the Casio Triangle. The pressure is all building up here. And now Andrew Waring finds 2 very hungry Coffrays directly behind him.
By the way, Byron Daly, in case you're wondering, he's now had to tow his car after the issues. Joey Haynes, mandatory repairs for that issue. Max Preston pushed the issue on Grams. Grams nearly rear-ends him, able to avoid the back end, however. The thing is, they're all back within the fight for the lead. Down to 7/10 back of Andrew Waring, now in drafting distance. Michael and Sebastian Coffray had to make up more than 2-3 seconds to have a shot. Side by side for the AM lead, Ray Courtney for Scuderia Delta 2. Nearly clear, does get clear again with the draft.
Ray Courtney trying to avenge Scuderia Delta 2, if anything. That incident for Michael Myers on lap 1, he was on AM pole. He's been erased, but Ray Courtney is here to pick up the pieces for that team. I think there was just an issue for Brad Miller as well in AM, but Guillaume Pauvin still sticking with Ray Courtney. I hope Guillaume has the long run tire speed here to stick with Courtney. He was very, very aggressive in the opening stages of the race. That is something he struggled with in previous seasons, just keeping the tires to the end. But he's right there again. There's a mistake from Courtney into Degner too, and Pauvin's right back on the scene. He's going to be clear already.
One of the bigger mistake sections at this track. That shuffles things around. Trouble, Max Preston from the lead pack. Another driver up the road from these AM drivers just had a spin and spoon. This is why. Same curb,
there it is.
Same spot, same result. Wash, rinse, repeat times 10.
I thought we were about to just see it again there with Ray Courtney, but not quite. Ray managed to hang on to the car. It looks kind of stupid when you see every single driver doing exactly the same thing, but it's really not, because it's hard to predict. It happens in the same place every time. But when you're driving the car through the first part of spoon, you're trying to carry as much speed as possible. You're trying to make sure you don't get that off track. You're also trying to make sure you hit the curb. It's just something that can happen. It's one of those things that's basically impossible to control, because by the time it's happening, you don't even realize you're out there.
Michael and Sebastian Coffray now almost wearing with about more than a 3-second buffer over Grams and a Cabo Easy. Also, Preston has fallen back to Justin Negretti, able to hold off Negretti, in fact. More problems in the case of Ozzy Milway, just now from the top 10 as well. This section has also been surprisingly tricky than usual, Joey. Lots of drivers seem to be making mistakes such as this one.
It's a little wiggle. He almost had it saved, but unfortunately there's a big Italian wall over there. It's a difficult corner, again, especially if you're on a low downforce setup. We're starting to get to the halfway point in this race. If you are being careless with your tires, if you are really roasting them, even on a cold day like this, you're going to start feeling the looseness. You're going to start feeling the slides. And turn one of the highest commitment corners on the track, one of the highest speed corners on the track. Andrew Waring's just spun from the lead.
Another race leader has spun it.
And it was the curb again.
The defending champion loops it from the lead. Michael Coffray and his brother Sebastian are now 1-2. Max Preston has looped it again in the same spot too.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. And now the Coffrays are going to fight each other for this win. Sebastian's not going to dive into the inside, completely understandably. I think him and Michael are just going to ride in tow here in tandem until the pit cycle comes around. But the Coffrays, they drove their way up into the battle for the lead. They put the pressure on Andrew Waring, and he made a human mistake again.
Waring has fallen back around where Hamilton Akabuizi is, about 4 or 5 seconds back of these two. The curb has bitten many today. Here's a look going on in the AM positions. Ray Courtney trying to shuffle Raymond Day in this battle. Guillaume Pavin, Max Shapley as well. 3 wide down the front straightaway as Courtney tries to break away from it.
That's the thing about pro versus am. You're all fighting for the same positions here. You're all fighting for the same points, but you're not fighting for the same win. Max Shapley going to back up a little bit there to not necessarily fight with Courtney and Povan. Byron Daly, though, is going to be a little bit of a roadblock for Ray Courtney now, or for Guillaume Povan as Ray Courtney pulls away.
And that's Day up in front as you see Povan really having troubles in these S's right now in the aero wash. Now he's up for grabs by Max Shapley. Jacob Mager's also within range to fight with them. Side by side heading off into the Dagners. Pavin tried it. Shapley made it stick.
You do not want to go side by side through the Dagners. That's probably the most scary thing you can do at this track, going side by side through Dagner 1. So all the credit in the world to Max Shapley and Guillaume Povan there for getting away with that, but it is very, very scary to do that. And Povan is still in danger here because Jacob Majors is right behind him. Again, it's pro versus am. Guillaume doesn't necessarily need to fight this, but he does want to fight this. The way AMs score points according to the rules this season is you score points based on your finishing position. Ray Courtney doesn't get first place points. Guillaume Povan doesn't get second place points. Ray Courtney right now gets 11th place points. Guillaume Povan gets 14th place points. It's not just going to be a 1-point spread. It's going to be a 3-point spread based on the amount of pros that are between them.
Downside is if Pavin wants to get the most points scored rather in AM. Not in the best spot to do it. He's lost 4 seconds nearly from this fighting. More squabbling as a result with Robert Ridgway having a recovery from his bad qualifying. Manuel Vargas just opened the pit window and scheduled stops with the pit stop this previous time around. There goes Pavin to join him.
There we go, just past halfway in the race. This is usually when we see the first couple of drivers start to come in. Again, it's all about traffic, though. It's all about finding a gap on track where there's no drivers. There is quite a bit of field spread here, all the way from first down to 10th in AM. There's drivers basically everywhere on the track on the lead lap. We'll see if Povan can find somewhere clean to come out on track. He's going to have a little bit of a struggle finding clean air, though.
Coffray still holding on to a 3.1, make it 3.2 seconds or so advantage. They're in the driver's seat. Pun not intended when it comes to that. Here is the thing. Because of those spins for both the Evolve cars from the lead, Joey, they can work together and maybe take the same strategy these two are going. They're 4th and 5th on the pylon, so the teamwork seems to make the dream work today.
Teamwork always makes the dream work, but I don't know how much Waring and Akabuizi can do together. They weren't faster than Coffray over the course of the first stint. Michael and Sebastian both had, frankly, more race pace than the Evolve SimSport drivers did, so I don't know what Waring and Akabuizi can do right now other than hope that these two start fighting each other in the dying stages of the race. Maybe hope that Cody Grams finds some speed in the latter stages. And here we go. Pit cycle is kicked off. Both Coffrays are in, and Sebastian almost gets into the back of his brother.
Well, that could have resolved itself there.
Yep.
Able to avoid the rear wing. Waring and Akabuizi both came in this time. So did Andrew Waring. Cody Grams, Justin Negretti stay out on the racetrack. So off they go to their pit stalls as several other drivers try and go through them in turn because it's iRacing. Off and away go the Wave Italy cars. About 5 seconds in the box. Akabuizi comes out ahead of Waring. Waring has to make a wing change possibly. He's having to stop of more than 15 seconds.
Oh dear, oh dear. I don't think he has to make a wing.
He's
got a penalty.
He's got a speeding penalty. It's a 40-second hold. Hamilton Akabuizi now on his own the rest of this race, needs to find a way to gain 3 seconds.
Andrew Waring's doing exactly what you don't want to do in the first race of your championship defending season. You don't want to start it on the back foot. You do get 1 drop week in the PRL. You get your worst result dropped from the season, but you don't want to use up your drop week on week 1, and you especially don't want your drop week to be a mediocre result in 12th or 13th. You want your drop week to be 30th or something, so you can give yourself a little bit of a buffer to have maybe 1 bad result that you do have to keep. You don't want to use up your drop week on a mediocre result. You want to use it on a result that you absolutely need to throw away.
Amongst those who have yet to pit as well, Errolton J. Smith is now leading the M class for now. Car behind him is Ryan Miles, who is quietly running inside the top 10 right now. As a matter of fact, Errolton Smith already telling drivers he'll let them go, knowing the situation with how his race is going.
It's pretty smart from him, and it's a good way to introduce yourself to the series. Ayrton Smith, a new driver to the PRL. Haven't seen him in the previous seasons, haven't seen him much racing with these drivers, but the best way to make your name, the best way to be a good lap car is to be courteous, to be especially courteous, and he is going to do exactly that to Ryan Miles here. Pro versus Am. Miles is actually going to back out, though.
He said take it on the straight. He didn't take it down the straight. Now he does.
I don't think he wanted it.
Yeah, that's a little bit surprising. Miles has been amongst those who pit, expecting Smith in this time. He does come in. So now with the pit stops just about complete, Gulf Race back up to the race lead. Cody Graham cycled to 5th behind Akabuizi and Hardman after he had a trouble of a time to get in his pit stall.
Oh dear, oh dear. It seems like everybody in the top 5, it doesn't seem like it is a fact that everybody in the top 5 other than the Co-Frays has made a costly mistake that's taken them out of contention here. The Co-Frays, drivers who we always talked about in previous seasons as drivers who were always rapid, were always fast, but were a little bit scary to race around. They tended to make a few mistakes. They tended to make a little bit of contact. But now we kick off 2023, we kick off a new season, and they're the only ones that have been completely squeaky clean for the entirety of this race so far.
They've gained about another second up as a result of their teamwork and their ability to draft together compared to the single car pace. And absolutely huge throughout this race, very minimal mistakes after so many spins in through Spoon Curb through today's race. Now it becomes also the big question. If you're these brothers, when is the green light going to go off saying, let's fight? We go from brothers to competitors.
I'd say that light probably goes off with about 3 laps to go, because right now, if they do start fighting, Hamilton Akabuizi is still in touching distance. He's 3.6 seconds back. They can't even see him right now in their rearview mirrors, but he is there, and the second the 2 Co-Frays start going side by side, that gap gets decimated, and it becomes a 3-car battle for the lead. They do not want that. They don't want Hamilton Akabuizi in that pink and yellow entry back there to be in this fight. So I think they're going to continue working together for the next couple laps, just ride in line here. Sebastian's going to make sure he doesn't lose touch with his brother, and then when we get around lap 20, lap 21, I think the gloves will be off.
Those who may know, small little flicker Andrew Waring just had to toe as well, so that'll move all these positions gained a little bit higher up. A lot of the drivers higher up in the order have gained a few spots here and there. Max Shabley up 11, Robert Ridgway up 17. Dave Peterson, most notably, up 12 AM spots. 21 overall total is the biggest. Up, speaking of AM lead, Guillaume Paven makes the pass on Ray Courtney after closing up the 2 seconds again.
The battle that never ends, and I don't think it'll be over until the checkered flag falls. These two are just dead even on pace. Neither of them have made any mistakes. It's been a great drive for both of them, and it's going to keep raging on here through the S's. Pavan has the advantage for now. Ray Courtney's just going to have to back off for the moment, just ride in line here. We'll see through the Degner if there is another mistake. That tends to be the mistake spot for both of these drivers. Anytime they take the lead, second they go flying through Degner too, there tends to be a lockup or a mistake of some sort here. But Povan's got it under control. Courtney's got it under control. The 2 drivers ahead of them, though, Jacob Majors and Ozzie Milwane, they might be a little bit more of a worry for these two.
Especially if they fight hard. Those two drivers trying to run away. Speaking of still trying to run away, these two. No moves yet from Sebastian. Staying about 2 to 4 tenths back of his brother. Coming to 7 laps to go this time around in this race. The major thing to note, though, is with some of the checkups starting to come into play a little bit, Akabuizi is starting to chip away, especially since Sebastian's basically saving. Does that change the strategy a bit, knowing Akabuizi is gaining a little bit?
It's honestly hard to tell because it is just so... It's complicated strategy-wise. There's been shorter pit stops for... Akabuizi was in the box for shorter. I'm trying to do the math in my head here right now to see if Akabuizi will actually have more speed coming to the last 6 laps or so, and I don't know. I'm getting mathed out in my head here. He is losing time.
Taking a look at the AM battle. While Milwain and Major still battling in front of them as well, which will add up that cork you mentioned. They are already going very wide through parts of these S's up ahead of them.
You've got to be careful going wide in the S's especially because there's no runoff. There's grass, there's curbs. You clip any of that, you're spinning. But in other parts of the track, even places where drivers haven't been spinning, on the exit of Degner, on the exit of Spoon, the exit of Turn 1, even the Casio Triangle, off tracks do tend to build up here at Suzuka and at all the Grade 1 tracks. You only get 13 incident points in the PRL before you get a drive-through, and there they go.
Ozzy Milwain from that pack just hit the wall coming out of the Degners. So now it's a 3-car pack here, makes it a bit easier. In our news, Max Preston has spun again in Spoon. There's the hit for Milwain, one of his factory affiliate drivers, and Preston also spun it in Spoon moments ago.
Yeah, that was a little bit more than an off track through the Degner. He clipped there's a bump there that's very, very awkward when you hit it, and it just spits you directly into that wall. Those are the mysteries and the quirks of Suzuka. Eventually you learn them, but you can only learn them so much because they always find the places when you least expect to decide to bite you.
Race leader stays single file. AM drivers, not so much. Courtney through 130R makes the move again. But then not able to make the pass back quite yet. Might have to wait for the front straightaway coming out of the Casio Triangle with the last curb again.
The old Povan and Courtney switch around. Here we go. Onto the front straight. I'm looking at the 2 rear wings of those cars, and they look fairly equal. It doesn't seem like Guillaume Pauvin's that much quicker in a straight line. It seems like they're on pretty similar downforce levels here. But into turn 1, Pauvin's not able to go for the move, wasn't really able to take advantage of the draft. He didn't take full advantage of it. He actually pulled off to the right side there, you saw, and didn't close down to Ray Courtney as much as I expected him to. So I think what he'll do here is try and minimize the mistakes. Make sure he can stick to the back of Courtney through Degner 2. That tends to be Guillaume's best corner. And go for the move again in the best place in the track, the Casio Triangle. That's the most reliable place to make a move.
Those drivers trying to side steer up. Let's take a look at the replay because the brothers decided to swap. Sebastian Coffre had been checking up for Michael. Didn't do so this time. So now Michael gets to save a little bit of fuel there.
Muy interesante for both of these drivers. I don't think that means they're going to fight any less hard. I think Michael is probably still the faster of the 2, I'd say, overall, but Sebastian's going to get a little bit of clean air here, and he's going to see if he can prove me wrong and pull away from his brother Michael. If he was indeed getting held up, that is a valiant thing for Michael to do, to let Sebastian by, but there's still going to be 4 laps to go at the line. That's a long way to go for Sebastian to pull away from Michael.
Trouble. Jacob Magers just got hit because of a spin that happened up the road. Raymond Day lost it. This was right where the AM battle was. Look, there's the flick spin, and Ray Courtney had to go in the grass to avoid it all.
That was the luckiest escape possible from Ray Courtney. Let's see what happened to Raymond Day. It was through the second half of Spoon. He didn't even hit the curb. He was just overheating those tires. He lost it, backed it into the wall. I think he thought there was going to be enough time to loop it around, but then he lost it again and looped it right in front of traffic. That's not going to be very received very well by the stewards.
Courtney hit something. Courtney mandatory repairs. There's a look at the big hit from the first miss, but Courtney in the second miss has to come to the pit lane with mandatory repairs from the AM lead.
Courtney is going to be absolutely infuriated, and you can't blame him for that. I would be infuriated too. Raymond Day, he's got a lot of experience in these cars. He's got a lot of experience in this series, but a mistake like that is going to come under the ire of the stewards, and he will likely take a points penalty for that, because that was sketchy.
So the AM lead gets separated out. The Cofrays now look to settle it out. Michael Cofray lost a fair bit of time last time. Here is what cost Courtney that hit there. That hit the suspension. You've seen it with the steering wheel. Something was up.
Yep, that is broken, and that is going to be long repairs in the pits for Ray Courtney. That's so disappointing. First race in the PRL again, just really showing great speed, fighting with Guillaume Pauvin. It's no solace to know that you were fighting for the win, especially when it gets robbed from you like that, but we'll be seeing a lot more from Ray Courtney in the next couple of months. First race didn't end the way you wanted, but there's 9 more races to make up for that. It's not good to get your mistakes out of the way in race 1, but I suppose there are 9 more weeks to make up for it.
Manuel Vargas, meanwhile, still having to fight for spots for 8th, recently passed by Ryan Miles. I think that's been one of the major kind of quiet stories of the night. Miles had to gain some spots, had to recover from several spins, has had now one of the best runs we've seen for his season. Remember, he had a few top 10s trying to keep up with Vargas, who's pulling away.
It's been a very, very strong race for Ryan Miles here, and unexpectedly, I'd say, he's the top Atomic Racing driver in this race. Steven Ritter's, of course, not here tonight. Takeshi Kita down in the IR04s, but Max Shabley and Robert Ridgway are both back in the Atomic Racing stable this season. Where are they? They're 10th and 11th. Ryan Miles is showing up, both of them so far tonight. First race with a new team. Sometimes it can be awkward, sometimes it can be different, but he is doing a phenomenal job delivering so far, and he could have P8 for that matter, as we see the other Atomic Racing driver on track. Richard Swindells, I think, is also on track, but James Carter, currently P5 in AM. There he is. It's Santa Carter.
Of course, the holiday season, well in full swing, just a couple days away from Christmas. Quietly in all these storylines, he's 5th in the AM class.
James Carter's best result overall in the PRL is P9. That came at Long Beach last season in that race of attrition. I don't know what his best result in class is. I don't know if his best result in class before that was P9. I'm going to have to do some James Carter research here, but either way, top 5 in class to kick off the season. He's going to be very, very happy with that.
Under 3 laps to go now in the race. The Cofrays still holding about a 2.5 second buffer. This is around the time you expected the green light, but Michael Cofray has not been able to close up. If anything, he's losing ground in this section.
Yeah, I think the green light is on right now, but Michael Cofray is just he's not ready to deliver. But Sebastian goes off again in Degner 2. That tells me that he's still feeling the pressure, and he might still be accumulating those off tracks. I've been in races with Sebastian before where he did finish 4th or 3rd on track, but he got that off track in the final lap of the race, lost everything because he extended the track limits a little bit too much. So he's got to be careful doing that. And you don't want to be playing with those careful games. You don't want to be conservative and restricting yourself when you're trying to fight for a win. But if he's riding on that line of 11-12 incident points, he's going to have to do that.
Doesn't be either in terms of the pressure that a Coboeasy is having his best moment since his spin. He's gained another 2/10 behind these two in the past lap. So now coming up to 2 laps to go. Michael looking to try and see if they can size up only 1 lap car in front to deal with, Olivier Legno. Then it's clean sailing for the rest of the fight. Justin Negretti also just over the radio saying he's miscalculated fuel. Cody Grahams may also be in fuel trouble, so some of the drivers are running out of gas.
Oh dear. You couldn't think the first race of the season could get any crazier, but Indeed, it will. We're playing with that just bare 10-second, 5-second limit between 2 laps and 3 laps to go. So a lot of drivers struggling with that fuel. But Michael Kofre had a great exit out of the Casio Triangle that time through the final corner. He was able to stick with Sebastian, wasn't close enough to really take advantage of the draft. And you can see he's struggling through the S's here, but in a lot of important places on this track, he is able to stick with Sebastian. He just needs to hope, I think, for one additional mistake to really bring that gap down to put him in touching distance.
Just to let you know, you see that blue and white machine just up the track. Sebastian asking for the traffic to move. Not close enough to be able to pass the traffic yet. Now the traffic moves to a bad spot. Sebastian Kofre gets blocked by the lap traffic. Here comes Akabuizi and Michael Kofre. The gap is gone. Akabuizi has a shot. He's within a second as the Wave Italy cars lose their advantage.
That was Olivier Legault just being indecisive. He didn't really decide, do I want to go to the outside? Do I want to go to the inside? And you can never swerve like that in front of the race leader. It wasn't a mistake for Sebastian Kofre that opened the door for Michael. It was a lapped car doing something questionable. Michael's going to be able to fight with him now. I think he might feel bad fighting with him now because the gap came down by something that wasn't Sebastian's fault, but you're a racing driver. You're fighting for a race win. Kofre isn't going to send it on his fellow Kofre this time, but it's the white flag lap. You've got Hamilton and Akabuizi behind you. The race is on the table. You can't be too sportsmanlike here.
Final time around from Suzuka for the PRL's Formula 3 Series powered by VCO. Michael Kofre looking to set up Sebastian Kofre. Not close enough for the send down the front straightaway this time. The Wave Italy cars looking to try and keep things together. Hamilton and Akabuizi looking to make the recovery drive. Justin Negretti, Cody Grahams both just entered the pit lane. They've run out of gas.
Going to give Max Preston his top 5 back. It's going to give Andrew Hardman P4. Just tells you how rewarding it is to make no mistakes in an F3 race with a big field like this. He was probably 9th or 8th on pace, but he's made no mistakes, did some good calculations. He's up into P4, and now here comes Hamilton to Akabuizi on Michael Kofre. Michael's lost Sebastian completely. Those tires are done. Hamilton to Akabuizi's got P2 on his plate here.
Well, these drivers have enough fuel. They are about a lap further on a stint compared to those who just pit. Michael Kofre, bad corner exit. Akabuizi looking to sort things together on the rear wing of the Wave Italy car for one more time through Spoon. Michael Kofre a little deeper through Spoon. Akabuizi trying to set up the cross, looking to get the run for 130R one final time for second.
Sebastian Kofre's in complete control up front, but here comes Akabuizi on the outside. Michael Kofre just leaving him a little bit of room, as much room as he needs. He's going to have to go around the outside in 130R, though. It's very, very difficult to do. Kofre's still there. Who could be later on the brakes at the Casio Triangle? It's Akabuizi, but he can't get it stopped.
Akabuizi spins it again. He spins off the track. Sebastian Kofre runs out of gas at the line, checks up with his brother, and I think Michael has stolen it. What?
That's exactly the question I was going to ask. I guess it's because Michael let Sebastian go, but it's no use asking any questions here. Hamilton and Akabuizi hangs on to P3, by the way, because Hardman was so far back, but it's Kofre things. We'll have to ask him what the reason for that was.
I think it's pretty clear what the race we're both thinking of comes to mind from a certain red color, from a certain country they share the name with. In the AM class, after some wild theatrics and incidents, Guillaume Pavan gets a top 10 overall to win AM.
Guillaume Pavan gets a far less controversial win. We got no questions to ask for Guillaume. Of course, Ray Courtney got taken out by Raymond Day there. That's a controversy of its own, but Guillaume Pavan was incredibly fast, made no mistakes. Who else but Dave Peterson bringing it home for P2 in AM? Completely quiet race for him. Great stuff for good old Dave Peterson getting himself on the AM podium.
Last the drivers finishing. I don't know what the PRL standard is of a car stopping right before the line for a photo finish and losing the race.
You can do whatever you want. We saw it in the MX5s last season. Jameson Sampaio just gave up the win for no reason whatsoever to his fellow Brazilian Felipe Senni. But I just don't get the mindset there because both drivers, Michael and Sebastian, I think were similarly screwed over there. Michael let his brother by because he thought he was faster. He thought he could win the race. And then Sebastian got checked up by the lapped car, which put Michael back in contention. I would have said they were both evened out. I would have said Sebastian deserved the win, but clearly Sebastian didn't agree.
So the last of the drivers across the line, and that may trigger some looks. To say the least, it unofficially, Wave Italy still gets a 1-2 after Michael Coffre steals it from his brother, Sebastian Coffre, who stopped coming towards the start and finish line. Hamilton to Kawauisi after he spun in the final corner, finished in third. Andrew Hardman, Max Preston in the top 5. Vargas, Miles, Chablis, Ridgway, the top 9 Pro drivers, and an AM driver, Kiamba Van in 10. Check that 9th because that's been shuffled in the sim. Cody Graham's just got moved up a spot as well, as everyone else listed here. Justin Negretti, Tyler Richards, Pierre Richards, Berto Coffre, then a bunch of AM drivers. Peterson, Smith, Miller, Swindells, Carter, Gonzaga. And the last driver in amongst the lead lap drivers is Nestor De La Fuente. Then it is Lego, Brewer, Myers, Hill, Dubé, Courtney, Day, Magers, and Milway amongst the top 30. Waring, Daly, Haynes, San Diego, Duomo, Leman, Potts, Ritzma, Thurman, and Broomhead, your top 40. Last, the drivers, once the melee at the start, Martin, Quinn, Juan Coffre, dead last to start the year. Still waiting for the Coffres as they look to figure out what to say. Hamilton Kawauisi, though, is standing by. Believe he may have a lot to say after 2 spins, but still another podium. How was your debut, Hamilton?
Actually, really fun. Yeah, I will forever hate that curb outside of Spoon that spun on it last season in F4. So I hate that, but I had a chance for P2 with the recovery, but I overcooked it massively. So yeah, but really fun race.
What's the difference like between the IRL4 and this Formula 3 car, in your opinion? Why?
This, you have to take care of tires. Like in the other car, it didn't really matter, whereas in this, you have to do a little bit of just not ruining the tires like you can in the F4. But yeah, overall, it felt pretty similar, except this is terrible on cold tires. So.
Well, an eventful start to the season with a couple spins there. But now the second race after the holidays, Circuit of the Americas. It's Grand Prix layout, 45 minutes, 22 laps. Your thoughts on COTA?
Don't own it, so I have to buy it, but it's usually okay. I wonder what it'll be like. I know it's off tracks everywhere, so we'll see about that.
Well, you get to buying every single car and track now on the service. Congrats on the podium.
Thank you. And thanks to Evolve. Testing with them has been great. Helped push me a lot more. And yeah.
That's Hamilton Kawauisi coming in third tonight. And an eventful one. Still waiting on the Coffres. I believe Ryan Miles is standing by as well. His fellow new teammate, Joey Tebbin, now with him.
Indeed, Ryan Miles, you show up to Atomic Racing, you bring a Atomic Monkey Butt together, and you show up all your teammates. Top Atomic driver in the race of P8. How does that feel?
Yeah, it's great. You know, it's a really tough race. It's an extremely competitive field this season compared to last season, at least. The start was really rough. I got stuck behind Joey, and we kept on battling, and then I got 2 4Xs, so that brought me up to 8X, and then was kind of coasting from there. I had a really close call with someone that spun at T1. That gave me 2 positions, and then I had to just give the position to Vargas, because if I, battled him there, I'm gonna get a drive-through probably if I get 4X. So yeah, it was a good race. I'm really proud of it. I didn't expect that position, to be honest. I was hoping for a P10, but yeah.
What are you looking most forward to in the next 9 weeks? We'll be back in 2 weeks' time. It'll actually be 2023. You've got your new Atomic Racing team. What are your goals for the season?
I'm probably gonna miss like 2 races, so that's unfortunate. But I'm really looking forward to Spa, Redbird, and what's called Watkins Glen. Those would be probably the 3 best tracks on the schedule. I actually really like Suzuka, but I found Suzuka very tough in my setup. I was like fighting for my life in every corner with the car. So
yeah, that tended to be a Suzuka thing for me as well in this series. Just absolutely fighting for my life. Tires falling off, but it's Suzuka. You can't be too mad about it. So congrats on P8 tonight. It's always great to see Monkey Butt in the grid. Even greater to see him combined with Atomic Racing, and we'll see you once 2023 rolls around.
Yeah.
That was Ryan Miles, your P8 finisher tonight. And I believe that will be everybody we get to talk to tonight. Guillaume Pauvin, our AM winner. Hopefully we get to talk to him next week. Hopefully we can finally get him on the old Discord. But what can we even say, Justin? What can we even say about that finish?
How about you answer first, because I still don't know.
I can't answer either. Kevin, I did just see in the PRL Discord chat, Kevin San Diego did drop a photo of a flaming garbage truck, and that might be a good word to use for some drivers' races. But I'd say overall it was a very, very good race, even with the confusion at the end. Cofrays racing each other, Michael versus Sebastian, Hamilton and Caboeasy on the scene as well, looking human. There were a lot of drivers who could contend for the win tonight, and that tells me that in the coming months, in the coming 9 races, I can't predict who's going to be the champion. Is it going to be Michael Cofray, Sebastian Cofray, Hamilton and Caboeasy, Cody Grams, Andrew Waring, Justin Negretti? Who knows? But we got to watch. It's going to be a great season.
But that, remember, the Circuit of the America is next on the docket when we get to the new year. That race starting about 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and on January the 5th. 22 laps on the docket for that one at Coda. It should be a fun one as well, one of the Grand Prix circuits on the layout. But after a lot of theatrics and a lot of shuffles and a lot of spins and spoon, it's time to say goodbye. For my broadcast partner Joey Tebman, for our producer Hugo Wees, I'd like to thank you for tuning in for tonight's action. I'm Justin Prince saying so long, enjoy your Christmas holidays, enjoy the rest of your holiday break. Happy holidays from all of us from RaceSpot.